The first time Vivian Cross humiliated me in front of 300 people, she never raised her voice. "Ethan Cole is just an employee," she told the ballroom, her face as calm and cold as polished glass. "His personal connection to me has nothing to do with why he is here." A few executives smiled. Others looked at me like they had finally confirmed the rumor that the billionaire CEO had given her friend's son a charity internship. I stayed through the applause because walking out would have made them right. 40 minutes later, after the guests were gone, and I returned to headquarters for my laptop, Vivian caught my wrist outside the elevators. For the first time, I saw fear under the steel. "Don't go home," she said. "Someone used your credentials to move $8 million. I stared at her. "You think I stole it?" "No." Her fingers tightened. "I think someone wants the board to believe you did. If you enjoy stories about betrayal, courage, and love growing where it should be impossible, stay with me and tell me this. Would you trust the woman who just denied you in public?" I had been at Cross Meridian for 19 days when the company tried to turn me into a criminal. I was 25, old enough to hate favors and young enough to think refusing them automatically made me independent. My mother, Dana Cole, had been one of Vivian's closest friends since college. Dana became an electrical engineer. Vivian built Cross Meridian into a logistics technology empire worth more than $12 billion. Then my mother died of cancer, leaving my father and me with a house full of half-finished projects, old photographs, and one warning I had never really understood. Never confuse pride with dignity. When Vivian offered me a summer internship after graduate school, I refused twice. I had another offer in Seattle and no interest in becoming the billionaire CEO's charity case. She solved the argument by making me compete with everyone else. 12 positions, nearly 9,000 applicants, technical exams, interviews, and a case competition. I finished first overall. That mattered to me more than the internship itself. I joined the strategy group under Nolan Price, a director who believed interns should speak only after proving they had something worth hearing. My main assignment involved Northstar, a massive acquisition that could give Cross Meridian control of one of the most advanced freight data networks in the Midwest. The work was difficult enough to make me forget the whispers for a few hours at a time. Vivian's favor. Vivian's pet intern. Her friend's kid. Vivian herself barely acknowledged me. At 38, she was famous for being brilliant, beautiful, ruthless, and nearly impossible to read. She wore tailored suits, spoke in exact sentences, and had a way of looking at people that made even senior executives check whether they had prepared enough. She was not warm. She was not cruel. She simply seemed unwilling to waste emotion where discipline would do. Then I found a problem in Northstar. It began with a repeating discrepancy in fuel surcharge data across 3 unrelated vendor clusters. The amounts were small. The timing was not. Every 13 days, money moved through a sequence of adjustments that looked legitimate alone and artificial together. I showed Nolan. He gave the screen 10 seconds. Timing noise. It repeats across unrelated vendors. "You're an intern, Ethan. Curiosity is useful. Paranoia is expensive." I should have stopped. Instead, I rebuilt the model after hours using only data I was authorized to see. By the next afternoon, I had isolated a chain of suspicious approvals tied to a Northstar reserve account. That evening, the company held a ballroom reception to celebrate final regulatory clearance for the acquisition. Investors, directors, senior executives, and employees filled the room. I was standing near the back when board member Sebastian Rourke took the microphone. "Before we close," he said, smiling toward Vivian, "perhaps you can settle a concern about personal relationships influencing access to Northstar." I knew what was coming before anyone turned toward me. Rourke said my name. Vivian stood at the podium in a black suit, expression perfectly controlled. "Ethan Cole is just an employee," she said. "More precisely, an intern who entered through our competitive program. His connection to me gives him no special authority." The statement was fair. It still felt like a public slap. Rourke smiled as if he had won something. Vivian looked at me only once. There was warning in her eyes, maybe regret, but she said nothing else. I stayed until the reception ended, because leaving would have looked like guilt. Less than an hour later, I was back at headquarters when Vivian pulled me away from the elevators. "Don't go home." "Why?" "Someone used your credentials to initiate an $8 million transfer from the North Star Integration Reserve." My anger disappeared. "That's impossible. The request came from your workstation token. I was at the hotel." "I know. Then cameras will prove it. The cameras on your floor went offline under a maintenance ticket that network operations never approved." She released my wrist. "Come with me." In a secure conference room, General Counsel Helena Ortiz and Security Chief Raj Patel showed me the transaction. It had been blocked before completion, but every visible log pointed toward me. My token, my employee ID, even a falsified badge record showing I had entered an executive-only elevator vestibule. Then Raj mentioned the destination account. I recognized it immediately. That vendor was in my variance model. Vivian's head turned. "What model?" I explained everything, including Nolan's dismissal of the pattern. Helena asked who knew I was investigating. "Nolan. Maybe someone who saw my screen." Raj studied another log. "Your token was cloned yesterday at 6:12 p.m. I stared at the screen. Vivian said quietly, "Whoever did this did not pick Ethan randomly. They saw what he found." Helena folded her arms. "We need to suspend him while we investigate." "I agree," Vivian said. The words hit me harder than I expected. Then she added, "Publicly." I understood. They wanted the person framing me to believe the plan was working. Vivian told me to go home and let the company handle it. "No." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? I'm not volunteering to sit at home while someone destroys my name and cleans the evidence. I'm trying to keep you out of a federal fraud investigation, and I'm trying to make sure the person who put me in one doesn't win. You are not in charge here. No, but it's my name." The room went still. I pointed to the screen. "Suspend my normal access. Give me read-only logs through Raj. Whoever did this chose me because they thought I was inexperienced enough to panic and connected enough to make a scandal useful. That means the $8 million isn't the real goal." Raj nodded slowly. "He has a point." Vivian looked at me for several seconds. Then she said, "Fine. You work with Raj, off-network. No vendors. No discussing this with anyone, including your father. That last part will be difficult. Difficult." When Raj and Helena left, Vivian stayed behind. "I meant what I said in the ballroom," she told me. "I know. You sound angry. I can know something is true and still hate the way you used me to prove it." That landed. For the first time, her eyes dropped before mine did. "I'm sorry," she said. I had never expected those words from Vivian Cross. "Rourke wanted me defensive," she continued. "If I protected you emotionally, he would have pushed harder. I gave him the company answer." "Do you always choose the company answer?" Her gaze returned to mine. "Almost always." Something about the way she said it made me hear the cost inside the sentence. The next 4 nights, I officially stayed suspended and unofficially worked in a secure room with Raj. Vivian arrived after most employees left, usually around 10. Bringing updated files and black coffee she pretended not to remember I preferred. The fraud was more sophisticated than theft. Small vendor adjustments were being routed into temporary holding accounts below automatic review thresholds. North Star would multiply the volume dramatically. On the third night, I pushed my laptop toward Vivian. This is a rehearsal. For what? North Star. 8 million was never supposed to clear. They wanted to test how quickly secondary approval reacted. Once the acquisition closes, they could move 30 or 40 million before the controls catch up. Raj swore under his breath. Vivian stared at the screen. Rourke chairs the audit committee. I looked at her. You already suspected him. I suspected he wanted North Star delayed. Why? She hesitated. I closed the laptop halfway. If you want me useful, stop giving me half the truth. Her face cooled. Be careful. So should you. Secrecy isn't the same thing as control. For a moment, I thought I had gone too far. Instead, Vivian walked to the window. 7 years ago, Sebastian Rourke tried to force a sale of Cross Meridian, she said. He leaked internal projections to a private equity group and created enough fear on the board that the sale almost passed. What stopped it? Your mother. I forgot the argument immediately. Vivian turned back toward me. Dana was consulting on a network project. She found evidence connecting Rourke to the leak and gave it to me. Why is he still on the board? The evidence proved misconduct, but not enough for criminal charges. I stopped the sale. I didn't have enough votes to remove him. My mother helped save your company. Yes. Is that why I'm here? Her answer came too slowly. She asked me for something before she got sick. My chest tightened. What? She asked me never to rescue you. I stared at her. Vivian almost smiled. She said if I ever opened a door for you, I had to make you earn the room so completely that no one could take it from you. I looked away, suddenly angry at my mother, my father, Vivian, and every secret disguised as protection. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because she asked us not to. Everyone keeps protecting me by deciding what I'm allowed to know. Vivian's expression changed. I know how that sounds. Do you? Yes. I studied her. Who protected you? That is not relevant. Stop using relevance as a wall. She gave me a warning look, but something in it was tired. Then she told me. Her father had spent years losing money by trusting friends, co-signing loans, and covering debts. By 16, she had experienced foreclosure, eviction, and the humiliation of watching adults promise loyalty until money was involved. I learned that affection makes people careless, she said. And you decided never to be careless. I decided never to need anyone enough to become stupid. The sentence should have sounded cold. It sounded lonely. I could have offered pity. Instead, I said, that sounds exhausting. Her mouth curved into the first real smile I had ever seen from her. That, she said, is unfortunately relevant. Something changed after that. We still worked. We still argued. But I began seeing the woman under the reputation. She skipped meals when stressed, rubbed the base of her thumb when angry, laughed rarely, but fully, when something caught her off guard. And she started seeing me as more than Dana's son. One night, close to midnight, she found me staring at transaction maps until the numbers blurred. You're done, she said. I'm close. You've been close for 3 hours. You're still here. I own the building. That's not a medical exemption. She laughed before she could stop herself. We walked toward the elevator together. Inside, neither of us pressed a button at first. Vivian was tired, her jacket folded over one arm. No audience around to restore the distance she wore so naturally. She looked at me for 1 second too long. I felt the pull between us clearly. So did she. Then she stepped back. 27, she said. I pressed the button. Nothing happened between us. That was how I knew something already had. The next morning, I found the first real link. The false transactions clustered around executive travel windows. Cross-referencing remote access logs showed that Nolan had authenticated several of the adjustments after receiving files from a board-level document account. Sebastian Rourke's. We had a chain, but Helena warned that Rourke could claim his account had been compromised. We needed intent. Then my father called. "Sebastian Rourke just contacted me," he said. I stepped into the hallway. "Why does he have your number? He's had it for years." A cold feeling moved through me. "What aren't you telling me?" My father hesitated. "Dad, your mother kept copies of the documents she found 7 years ago." I closed my eyes. "Where?" "A safe deposit box. She told me to open it only if Rourke ever came after Vivian again." I looked through the glass at Vivian. "I think this qualifies." My father met Vivian and me at the bank that afternoon. The box contained 2 flash drives and a handwritten letter with my name on it. I knew my mother's handwriting instantly. "Ethan, if you are reading this, Sebastian probably made the mistake of thinking patience is weakness. It is not. Neither is kindness." The first drive contained the old leak evidence. The second held something none of us expected. Development records from Cross Meridian's earliest predictive routing system. My mother had helped design part of it. Vivian went pale. I kept reading. Vivian knows I helped with the early architecture, but she does not know I kept my development records. I never wanted ownership. I wanted the work to survive. If anyone ever tries to use that history to take the company from her, these files show what really happened. Then came the line that broke through all my anger. If Vivian ever gives you a chance, do not mistake her hardness for a lack of heart. She has more of one than she knows what to do with. My throat tightened. The final line was simpler. Do not spend your life waiting to feel ready before you become brave. Vivian sat down, as if her knees had suddenly stopped cooperating. "My first prototype was terrible," she said quietly. "Dana rebuilt the optimization layer over a weekend. I offered her equity. She refused because of a conflict with her research work. Later, Helena explained why the files mattered. If Rourke got them first, he could manufacture an intellectual property dispute, freeze North Star, and make Cross Meridian appear unstable. Combined with the fraud scandal, it could destroy the acquisition. The $8 million had never been the main attack. I had Dana Cole's son, Vivian's supposed favorite, an intern with convenient access, a perfect person to frame as both thief and source of leaked intellectual property. "He wants the files," I said. Helena nodded. "Almost certainly. Then give him a copy." Vivian turned sharply. "No. A controlled copy with trackable metadata. No, he already thinks I'm angry with you. He expects me to panic and save myself. That gives us leverage. This is not an internship exercise. I know. You could destroy your career before it starts. I know. Then why are you treating the risk like it doesn't matter?" "Because you matter." The room went silent. I heard the words only after I had said them. I could have corrected myself. I didn't. "You matter," I said again. "Not because my mother loved you, because I've watched you spend days protecting people who may never know what it costs you. I've watched you take responsibility for things you didn't cause and call isolation discipline." Her eyes shone, but her voice stayed controlled. "You are my employee. Right now, and I am responsible for you, professionally, exactly. I hated the wall she put back between us. I also respected it." Vivian turned to Helena. "Build another plan. Without him." I walked out furious. I made it halfway to the parking garage before my phone buzzed. Unknown sender. The message contained one attachment, a screenshot of an email Vivian had sent Helena 6 weeks before my internship began. If Ethan accepts, keep him close to strategy. Do not tell him about Sebastian unless he resurfaces. If Dana left anything behind, I need to know before Sebastian does. I read it once. Then again. Every warm moment from the last 4 nights turned cold. Keep him close. I need to know. Suddenly, the internship looked different. The competitive testing, the North Star placement, Vivian's insistence that I work inside strategy. Maybe I had earned my place. Maybe she had also positioned me exactly where she could watch me. I turned around and went back upstairs. Vivian was still in the legal conference room, alone now, staring at the city. I put my phone on the table. Tell me it's fake. She read the screenshot. Her face lost color. It isn't. That answer hurt worse than a lie. So I was part of the investigation before there was an investigation. No. You told Helena to keep me close. Yes. Why? Vivian drew a slow breath. Because Rourke had started asking questions about your mother again. When? 2 months before you applied. And you didn't think that was relevant? I had no evidence he was planning anything. I thought he was fishing for old leverage. You put me in strategy anyway. You earned strategy. That isn't the question. Her jaw tightened. I stepped closer. Did you bring me here because you thought my mother left something behind? I brought you here because you were qualified. And the email? I was afraid Sebastian would notice you and use you to get to Dana's history. I laughed without humor. So your solution was to keep me close enough to monitor. My solution was to keep you somewhere I could protect you if he moved. Without telling me there was something to be protected from? Yes. There was no defense in the answer. That almost made it worse. I paced once around the table, trying to keep my anger from becoming cruelty. You don't trust people with their own choices. Vivian flinched. You decide what they can handle, then call it protection. You did it to me. My father did it to me. My mother did it from beyond the grave. I was trying to prevent exactly what is happening now. And you failed. Her eyes flashed. I held up a hand. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because control didn't save me. The truth might have. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she sat down. I knew Rourke hated me, she said quietly. I knew Dana embarrassed him. I knew you would reject the internship if I told you any of that because you would assume I was recruiting you into an old war. You were. No, I wanted you here because you were good enough. The danger was separate. Not to me. She looked at the screenshot again. You're right. I stopped pacing. Vivian Cross did not surrender arguments easily. She continued. I convinced myself that because my intention was to protect you, I had the right to decide what you knew. I didn't. The anger in me shifted, not gone, changed. If there is anything else, I said, anything about my mother, Rourke, this company, or me that affects my choices, you tell me. No more walls. No more company answer. She nodded. And if you ever use me as bait without my consent, I walk. I don't care who you are. A strange expression crossed her face. Not offense? Respect. Understood. I picked up my phone. At the door, Vivian said, Ethan. I looked back. I'm sorry. This time, I believed she knew exactly what she was apologizing for. That mattered. It did not erase the breach between us, but it gave the breach edges. Something we could see, something we could choose whether to cross. I left anyway. My father was waiting at home. You told her, he said after one look at my face. I did not tell her I loved her. Fine. You made the face people make after saying something inconveniently close. She shut it down. She's your boss. I know. She's also 13 years older than you. I can subtract. He smiled. Then you know she has 13 more years of practice being afraid of exactly this. Before I could answer, his expression changed. Rourke called again. I sat up. He said he can make the fraud investigation disappear if I give him Dana's files. There it was. Intent. I reached for my phone. My father stopped me. I recorded it. I stared at him. He slid the phone across the table. Your mother married a mechanic, not an idiot. By the next morning, outside counsel was involved. Raj preserved the digital evidence. Nolan lost system access. Then Vivian shocked everyone. She temporarily resigned as CEO, pending the board investigation. I called her the second I saw the company-wide email. What did you do? What I should have done earlier? Rourke keeps implying I manipulated systems to protect you. I removed myself from the operational chain. He wins if you leave. Only if I stay gone. Where are you? Home. Alone? A pause. Yes. I grabbed my jacket. Don't, she said. I didn't say anything. I can hear you putting on shoes. Despite him, I smiled. I'm bringing dinner. You should not come here. Because I'm an employee? Yes, I'm suspended. That is not the loophole you think it is. I laughed. She almost did. Then her voice softened. Please don't make this harder. I sat down. What is this? Silence stretched between us. Then she said one word. You. It hit harder than a confession. I closed my eyes. Then I won't come over. Thank you. But after the board meeting Friday, I'm going to ask you a question. What question? You'll find out Friday. I ended the call before she could turn it into policy. Thursday night, Nolan disappeared from scheduled interviews and shut off his company phone. By midnight, Raj discovered he had downloaded Northstar integration data and sent it to the same private equity group connected to Rourke's failed takeover 7 years earlier. The board meeting started Friday morning. I was not invited until Helena called at 8:17. Get here. 12 minutes later, security escorted me into a glass-walled boardroom where 12 directors, outside counsel, Raj, Helena, Rourke, and Vivian were waiting. Vivian sat away from the CEO chair because of her temporary resignation. Rourke smiled when he saw me. There he is. I put my father's phone on the table. Helena played the recording. Rourke's voice filled the room. Give me Dana's files, Daniel. I can make the situation with Ethan disappear. No criminal referral, no career damage. When it ended, Rourke recovered quickly. A private conversation taken out of context. I looked at him. What context improves blackmail? His jaw tightened. He turned to the directors and argued that Vivian had compromised governance by placing a family-connected intern near Northstar, giving me special access, and then allowing me to influence the investigation. I let him finish. Then I said, You're right about one thing. I had access I should never have had. Vivian looked at me sharply. Rourke smiled. I continued. Because someone cloned my security token and manufactured that access. Raj has the certificate mismatch. Raj distributed the evidence. I also participated in the investigation because I found the anomaly before the attempted transfer occurred. Another report went around the table. And yes, my mother had a connection to this company almost no one understood. Rourke's expression changed. I placed Dana's letter in front of the board. She helped create part of Cross Meridian's early predictive routing architecture. She also documented your involvement in the old takeover leak. Rourke leaned forward. You have no idea what those development files mean legally. You're right. He looked almost pleased. That's why Helena and I sent them to 3 independent intellectual property firms yesterday. Vivian's eyes widened. She had not known I had helped Helena do it after Vivian stepped down. All 3 reached the same preliminary conclusion. My mother's work was provided for company use with written documentation establishing intent. There is no ownership claim capable of taking North Star down. I slid the opinions across the table. Then Raj put a timeline on the screen. Nolan Price accessed archived references to those same files 2 months ago, I said. He forwarded summaries to a private equity group linked to you. Rourke stood. This is absurd. The board chair ordered him to sit. Before he could answer, the door opened. Nolan walked in with 2 federal investigators and his attorney. That was the twist none of us expected. He had not disappeared to help Rourke. He had disappeared because he was terrified of him. Nolan admitted approving fraudulent vendor adjustments, cloning my token, and forwarding North Star materials. Then he produced messages showing Rourke had blackmailed him with evidence of an old financial crime and threatened to destroy his family if he stopped cooperating. Nolan was guilty. He was also the witness who broke the scheme open. Rourke's plan collapsed in minutes. The board removed him pending formal action. Regulators opened investigations. The transfer never cleared. North Star was delayed only 48 hours. My suspension was lifted, and Vivian was unanimously reinstated as CEO. She still refused to return to work that day. Monday, she told the board. Today I'm going home. I followed her into the hallway. Vivian, she stopped. No lawyers, no board, no employees, just us. You changed the legal strategy after I stepped down, she said. Yes, you sent Dana's files for independent review. Yes. You challenged a board member in a closed session. Yes. She stared at me. That was either brave or profoundly stupid. I've been told the line is thin. Her mouth twitched. I stepped closer. Remember the question? Her expression changed. Yes. Was I wrong? About what? About what was happening between us? She looked away. That is not a fair question. It's the only one I care about now. You are 25. I know. I am 38. I can still subtract. She almost smiled. I was your boss. Was? Her eyes narrowed. Interesting tense, I said. Ethan, there are power issues, reputation issues. Your father is one of my oldest friends. Your mother was... My mother is not in this hallway. Vivian went silent. She doesn't get to choose this for us. Neither does my father. Neither does the board. You're still in the internship program. Then I'll leave it. No. The force in her answer surprised me. You earned that position, she said. You do not sacrifice your work to make this easier for me. Then move me out of your reporting chain. You were never directly in it. Even better. She almost smiled again, then stopped herself. You do that every time, I said. Do what? Feel something, then act like it's a governance failure. For 3 seconds, the most controlled woman I knew looked completely unguarded. Then she said, You were not wrong. My heart kicked hard. She continued before I could answer. And that is exactly why I need distance. How much? Until your internship ends? That's 6 weeks, yes. You expect me to pretend nothing happened? No. I expect you to finish what you earned without anyone ever being able to say you traded intimacy for opportunity. The sentence hurt because it was right. 6 weeks, I said. 6 weeks. And then? Her eyes held mine. Then you can ask again. I smiled. Be careful giving me deadlines. This time, she smiled fully. The 6 weeks tested both of us. We did not meet privately. No personal messages, no secret dinners. At work, Vivian treated me exactly like what she had called me in the ballroom. An employee. But the meaning had changed. Being just an employee no longer felt like a dismissal. It meant the work could stand on its own. I finished my North Star project. Nolan was terminated and later entered a cooperation agreement. Rourke resigned before the board could complete his removal and became the subject of multiple investigations. North Star closed successfully after Cross Meridian rebuilt the controls my model had exposed. At the end of the internship, Cross Meridian offered me a full-time senior analyst position. I turned it down. Not because of Vivian. One of the independent firms that reviewed my mother's work had connected me with a small transportation startup building emergency routing systems for hospitals and disaster response. Less money, smaller office, harder problem. Exactly what I wanted. When I told Vivian during my final review, she stared at me across the conference table. "You're leaving." "I am. Cross Meridian can improve the offer. It's not about money." "I know." There was pride in her voice. I leaned back. "You told me not to sacrifice my work to make this easier for you. I did, so I'm not." She looked at me for a long moment. "You really are Dana's son. I'm trying to be Ethan." Something softened in her face. "Good answer. My last day ended with another company reception. This time I did not stand near the wall. My father came. The other interns' families came." Raj shook my hand. Helena gave me her card and said, "You attract trouble? Keep this." Then Vivian took the stage. "6 weeks ago," she said, "I told a room full of people that Ethan Cole was just an employee." The room quieted. "I said it because I believed leadership required distance. Sometimes it does. But distance should never become an excuse to ignore courage, merit, or character." She looked directly at me. "Ethan found a problem more experienced people dismissed. He defended the truth when protecting himself would have been easier. And when this company offered him a comfortable future, he chose a harder path because it was his own." My father looked away, blinking hard. Vivian's voice softened. "So for the record, Ethan was never here because I did him a favor. Cross Meridian was fortunate to have him." The applause hit me differently this time. At 8 that night, I walked through the lobby carrying a cardboard box with notebooks, a coffee mug, and a half-dead desk plant. Vivian was waiting by the security gates. No suit jacket. Dark green dress. Hair down. For 1 second, every intelligent sentence left my head. She looked at the plant. "Very glamorous exit. It has dignity. It has 3 leaves. It's been through a lot." She laughed. Then the laughter faded. "Your internship ended at 5. I checked twice. You declined our offer." "I did. You no longer work for me." "Correct." I set the box down. "Vivian Cross, would you have dinner with me?" She crossed her arms. "Is that the question?" "No. That's the easy version." "What's the hard version?" I stepped closer. "Will you stop treating every feeling like a threat to your judgment long enough to find out whether this one might make your life better?" Her breath caught. "I'm not asking you to ignore the age difference, my father, the company, or the fact that you spent most of the summer terrifying me. I did not terrify you. You absolutely did." A smile touched her mouth. "I'm asking for one honest dinner. No boss, no intern, no one protecting the other from a choice we're both capable of making." Vivian looked at me for a long time. Then she reached for my hand. Right there in the lobby where anyone could have seen. Yes, that was enough. Our first date lasted 4 hours. Dinner became 3 dinners, then a Saturday morning walk along the lake where Vivian wore sunglasses and a baseball cap, as if she were hiding from the financial press. She was terrible at being anonymous. People still stared. "What?" she asked, after catching me smiling. "You look like a billionaire trying to disguise herself as someone who owns only 1 house. I own 1 primary residence. That is the most billionaire answer possible." She bumped my shoulder with hers. It was such a small, ordinary gesture that it affected me more than expensive restaurants or careful plans. At the end of the walk, we stopped beside the water. Vivian looked at me. I keep waiting for this to feel irresponsible. Does it? Yes. I laughed. Her eyes narrowed. That was not the reassuring answer. It feels irresponsible to me, too. She blinked. I stepped closer. That doesn't mean wrong. It means important enough to handle carefully. For once, she had no argument. So I gave her time to step away. She didn't. Our first kiss was quiet, deliberate, and brief. No stolen office moment, no locked door. Just two adults standing in daylight after choosing the same thing with nowhere to hide from it. When we pulled apart, Vivian whispered, "That was extremely poor risk management." I smiled. "We can establish controls." She laughed against my shoulder. Our second almost failed because a distribution crisis kept Vivian at work until nearly midnight. Instead of complaining, I brought 2 sandwiches to the diner across from headquarters and waited until she could escape for 20 minutes. "This is not a date," she said, sitting across from me. "It has food and you arrived voluntarily. Low standards, flexible standards." She smiled into her coffee. 3 months later, she visited my new office after my team deployed an emergency routing system during severe flooding. I was exhausted, rain-soaked, and proud of the work. Vivian looked around the cramped startup and said, "You chose correctly." I knew she was not only talking about the job. A year later, Cross Meridian became one of our clients. We both recused ourselves from contract negotiations. Helena made us sign enough conflict disclosures to qualify as a short novel. My father framed 1 page and hung it in his garage. Love did not erase the difficult parts. The age difference did not disappear. Vivian still had instincts shaped by years of believing attachment created weakness. I still had a habit of treating independence like it meant never accepting help. What changed was that we stopped using those fears as excuses. 2 years after the night she pulled me aside, Cross Meridian and my company created a scholarship in my mother's name for engineering students without family connections or financial advantages. The fundraiser was held in the same hotel ballroom where Vivian had once told everyone I was just an employee. After the speeches, she found me near the stage. "Mr. Cole." "Ms. Cross." "You're blocking traffic. There is no traffic." "Potential traffic?" I smiled. Still terrifying. She took my hand in front of hundreds of people and did not let go. For a moment, I remembered the first night. The whispers. The public humiliation. The way she had chosen distance because she thought distance kept everyone safe. "Do you know what Dana would say if she saw us?" Vivian asked. "Yes." "What?" "That you were right in extremely irritating ways." Vivian laughed. Then her eyes softened. "No." She'd say you finally learned the difference between pride and dignity. That landed deep. I looked at our joined hands. "And what did you learn?" She considered the question. "That needing someone does not make me stupid." I raised an eyebrow. "Dangerously healthy." "Don't get used to it." Later, walking out of the ballroom, Vivian stopped beside the same elevators where she had once grabbed my wrist and told me someone was framing me. "Funny," she said. "What?" "I thought pulling you aside that night was the most dangerous decision I made all year. It probably was." She shook her head. "No. The dangerous decision was letting you stay." I smiled. "Regret it?" Vivian looked at me with the same sharp attention that had once made me feel measured, except now I knew what lived behind it. Not once. The elevator opened. We stepped inside together. And this time, neither of us pretended nothing had happened. Sometimes the person who changes your life does not arrive with softness. Sometimes they arrive with rules, impossible standards, and 100 reasons why loving them would be complicated. The question is not whether love makes life simple. It is whether two people are brave enough to face the complications without lying to themselves. If you were Ethan, would you have waited those 6 weeks or walked away after being told you were just an employee? Share your answer, and if this story stayed with you, like and subscribe for more stories where the hardest choice becomes the one worth making.